Have consultants become a substitute for state capacity / routine / administrative ability? Like,
Right.
I always
Yeah.
wonder how we got to the point where consultants are so big anyway, because it feels like every time you hire a consultant, it's almost an admission of failure on your part to be able to do something, right? And nevertheless, it's a widely accepted practice across governments.
So my last book actually was called The Big Con, so con for consulting, and the subtitle was How We've Weakened Businesses, Infantilized Our Governments, and Warped Our Economies, basically due to this consultification. It's fine to have advisors and some consultants. The problem is when they are actually doing the core tasks that government should do. Again, test and trace during COVID was a core task. I think it really stems from, I'd say, the 80s, the kind of Reagan, Thatcher years, if you want.
It
Where
always
we not
goes back to Reagan.
Yeah, but actually in the UK, for example, it even increased more during the Labour government. So it's not one party, but it did begin, I'd say, in the 80s with this kind of downsizing of governments, which then ironically cost them more. Because as soon as you start downsizing without really strategically thinking what you need and what you don't need, of course you should trim the fat. There's no reason to have a bloated a government structure. But when it's done for ideological reasons and not strategic reasons, then ironically, then you end up not having those capabilities that you need as soon as you have a flood or Brexit or COVID. And so I think then what happens with the consultants is, it's not their fault that they're invited in. I do think it's very problematic what they end up doing once they're in. So there's huge conflicts of interest. Well, the biggest conflict of interest being that they have no incentive really to make government better later because they wouldn't have no contracts.